Hey, 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 I got a knife. It was neat. I really like this thing. As you could probably see from the name of the video, is probably as well as the thumbnail. This is the TwoSun TS316 dash light purple. Yes, this is a purple anodized knife, and it's that way from the factory. So, at least in this particular instance, it's not me to blame for it. Regardless, I appreciate it. This thing is a pretty interesting beast. I do say beast because this thing is not exactly a lightweight. I do want to kind of get that out of the way to start with here. So yeah, we're coming in over 6 ounces here. 175 grams. Yeah, so it's not a spring little chicken by any stretch of the imagination. This is a Wong design. And we got Thumbstuds here. Kerblam! And it is quite the Wharncliffe shape kind of thing going on here. And, man, it's actually kind of interesting with these Thumbstuds. It does kind of look like they are the stop pin, however, they're not. They do have a little bit of a gap there, and that's because the blade stop pin is internal to the blade itself. So we don't have a stop pin here when it's closed or anything like that, and these don't actually do that when it's open. That way, if you're not a super huge fan of Thumbstuds, you can take it out. And you also have this nice little hole here for doing some flicking, and it's a little bit easier to do if the Thumbstuds aren't attached. But certainly does work either way. Yeah, we got a nice stonewash finish from the factory kind of going on, and that does hinder its drop shot ability just a little tiny bit. It's something that'll work in over time, but yeah, you do have to allow time for that ceramic bearing there to get a little bit deeper into the groove of the knife there to smooth that out just a little bit. But man, this thing is quite bulky. As far as the thickness, it's not actually all that bad at 0.58 or so inches, but this is a whole bunch of titanium because we have the outer scales that are titanium. We have the liners, or subframes, I guess you would say, as you can see, they're actually thicker than the handle scales are, that are titanium. And we also have that back spacer there. Yeah, we don't have any sort of skeletonization going on the liners there. That might have helped a little bit. As something I have noticed is that the balance point is basically right where the pocket clip kind of ends. It's fairly far back there. Usually you would either picture it being at the finger choil or right where the handle ends, but in this case, it's a little bit different. So it's quite handle heavy. And for me, that actually doesn't bother me on this particular model because it's a Wharncliffe. I kind of like that it has that bias of pushing the blade up. Makes it a lot easier to start those cuts with. So yeah, we don't have any jimping kind of going on the top on this guy here, but we do on the bottom, interestingly. So you can have a very nice, comfortable grip with that finger choil. Not necessarily choil, but finger groove sort of thing. Or you can sneak up with that jimping there if you really want to get right behind that edge. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, as I had mentioned in the beginning, it's a Wong design. It's in 14C28N. At least that's basically all we got at the moment. Not sure if they have any other plans for different colors, scales, or different blade steels or whatnot. But yeah, this pocket clip as well. I really do want to talk about that. It's not technically deep carry, but you're not getting so much out there. But we have a nice, flat, wide contact patch. And the pocket clip is fairly wide, so it works really, really well for getting it in and out of the pocket. And something else that I kind of wanted to point out here, this guy is held in by a single screw. However, that's not the only anchor point that this particular guy has here. If I can actually wiggle the stupid clip out. There we go. But yeah, so we have a pen that actually goes through the scale as well there. So that's nice for it basically having two different anchor points there. That screw flew right into my shirt, so that was kind of lucky that it didn't fall anywhere further away from me. But yeah, that's super cool. I really do like that clip, and it stays nicely out of the way. It just kind of fits in my hand comfortably. I don't really have any problems with it. And this knife does feel a lot wider in the hand than that measurement of 0.58 kind of came from. It feels a little bit more like 0.65 or something like that. Just a really girthy knife. And like I was saying, this thing is quite heavy. So, with that being in mind, I can certainly see a certain amount of people really not being super interested in it. And I suppose I would say that's kind of unfortunate because this is an absolutely fantastic knife. I do think it's kind of interesting that TwoSun went with a light purple anodization for it being the production one. I know when I first saw this thing posted on Instagram from Wong, his was gold. So I don't know if that was necessarily his particular choice or whatnot. But hey, I like the color. I also do like these designs here, little hexagons and whatnot. And we have some broken out pieces and something like that. Let's see. I don't think that's the only knife from Wong that kind of has some of those design elements. Let me see if I can't find another example here. That's the one I was thinking of. This is a slip joint from Wong. But yeah, we can see we have these dot sort of things here. And we got another one over here. And then this one basically with the three dots that have separated also being part of one whole pattern sort of thing. This is a fantastic slip joint with a kind of trailing point edge. But yeah, that's for another time. But yeah, I do kind of like that broken up kind of pattern, but still kind of keeping in the theme there. It certainly works for me. So something I had noticed here is the plunge grind is fairly gradual. Aesthetically, I do like that quite a bit. I've certainly given QSP and some other TwoSun models some praise as far as that goes. But we have a very, very small sharpening choil there. And with that gradual thing, it basically comes out right to where that edge starts. So, as you sharpen it, yeah, that's going to create kind of that smile sort of thing that a lot of people that do focus things on sharpening probably going to have a little bit of grumblings on there. Like, this is probably not going to be Jared and Eve's favorite knife in the world. But luckily, as I was saying, we don't have that stop pin back there. It's internal to the blade. So you can make that sharpening choil larger without any problems whatsoever. And just, something you can do to modify it yourself. Let's see, blade stock thickness on this guy. I'm a little interested in that. Does have a distal taper, but yeah, this guy is 3.7 millimeters, which is a little thinner than a lot of their others that are like 3.8 to 4. And this thing, the edge on this just comes down to an amazing point down there. It's one of the thinnest grinds I've felt from TwoSun. It's pretty impressive. It's not quite, but almost feels kind of like those Scandi grinds that come just right to zero. So this thing is incredibly slicey for what it is. And I think we're right at like 3¼ inches for basically sharpened length there. And then, you know, somewhere around 3½ or so for all of that sort of good stuff there. So it's, you know, one of the not tiny knives, but it's also not an enormous cold steel sort of thing either. And yeah, this one actually does remind me of another long knife that was kind of strange here. And this is, I think this is a 279 if I remember right. But yeah, this is another Wong design with double layers of titanium sort of thing kind of going on there. This one's quite weird and different, almost a trailing point blade with a front flipper deploy and pocket clips on both sides. Yeah, this one's wild. But yeah, just another one of those kind of things that make it pretty overbuilt in my opinion. When I grip this thing, because of just the amount of titanium that we have back here, this is one of the most solid folding knives I've felt in quite a long time. You know, I don't really have any play, but this is on those ceramic bearings. It can back out due to the pivot screw, and it doesn't come with any kind of lock fastener sort of stuff from the factory. So it did kind of sneak out on me a little bit. So I've put some thread locker in there to stop that from happening. But yeah, the titanium outside of the scales is kind of this acid wash sort of thing going on there. Yeah. So quite a heavy little sucker. But man, this thing jumps out like you wouldn't believe. Like it feels almost assisted. Quite like the CJRB Rias that a lot of people will mention have a feeling like that. Where it doesn't take much at all. And whew, there it goes. So, yeah, this is certainly one of my favorite Wong designs that I've gotten in quite a while here. And, man, yeah, I just kind of wanted to share that a little bit. Since this didn't come in with a whole bunch of others or anything like that. I didn't have this in another opening video. But I did feel like it deserved a little bit of its own. You know, if you're not super into that purple, you basically can brush all that off with Scotch-Brite or sandpaper or whatnot like that, and kind of keep it plain. Or, I mean, if you have the utilities and everything, you can anodize it any other color you want. Hey, it is titanium. So, yeah, I really, really like this thing. Super happy to have it. And excited to use it a little bit more. I've used it for breaking down random pizza boxes and whatnot. I just had a company pizza party sort of thing, so I had a couple of personal boxes and whatnot, and some other things that I'd, you know, broken up. The top doesn't have any debris or any oils or anything like that, so that stuff's good to recycle, but the bottom is, you know, all sorts of cheese and sauce and whatnot. That stuff's much more destined for the trash, where it can you know, end up composting and all that sort of good stuff. And this did a fantastic job at all of that. The sharpening on here is pretty darn good. I can get it probably a little tiny bit better, I think. But I do think that, let's see, on my best tester, this guy measured right around 260, which isn't absolutely fantastic, but it's still a nice sharp knife. It'll still shave hair if you particularly want to do that. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. But, yeah, definitely it can get a little bit better. Also, blade is super buried in there. You're not going to end up cutting yourself. There's no access to that whatsoever. And the centering on it is pretty good, even though it's really difficult to kind of notice from the top down because the tip of this thing is buried so far into that handle. Yeah, there you go. So I guess the blade tip to into the handle ratio probably isn't the same as you'd get on some other ones. But for me in particular, I like that because this handle is nice and comfortable, and I like the size of it. You know, if it was shortened up, then my pinky would be a little bit more on that rounded area, and that might just annoy me just a little bit. But yeah. All right. Well, this was fun, and you know, definitely a TwoSun that I've enjoyed a lot more than I originally thought that I would. So I figured I would share that with everybody. All right. So yeah, this was the TS316 dash light purple. It's a nice Wong design, and y'all know I'm fairly kind of almost a Wong fanboy just because of the fact that he really knows ergonomics for us with the larger meat digits, and you know, for particularly me, I really appreciate that sort of detail. So, all right, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe.